I have got the man whose podcast is in the top 10% of the most listened podcasts in the world. You're not going to want to miss this.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
All right, awesome. Welcome, Ken Walls. I was thinking back, when I was getting ready to get prepared for our talk today. I was just thinking about all the times we've had together, all the experiences we've had in the mastermind group. It was a pretty diverse group, and just had some great times and in some great places. I think we were in some pretty cool places in the States. So I just wanted to introduce you real quick and thank you for being on. So let me tell the audience a little bit more about you. Ken's a best-selling author, speaker. He's a consultant. He's a master connector. Over 30 years, doesn't look that old. Over 30 years marketing and sales experience. He's passionate about helping other people. He and I have talked about that, and we joke about pricing strategies that we've talked about over the years. But he's so focused on helping people. And he really is a social media expert. That's one of the things we want to talk about today. And using social media in a way that's going to grow people's businesses and really improve and leverage their circles of influence. So again, his podcast is in the top 10% of the most listened to in the world. So we have got the guru and the expert on social media here. So anyway, Ken, thanks, man. It's always great catching up with you. And we have stayed in touch since the mastermind, but it's great having you with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don. It's good. I'm grateful to be here, man. And those accolades, I hope I can live up to that. Holy mackerel. So I tell you though, something every time I think of Don Shin, I think he's the only guy in the world ever to say, Ken, you're too cheap. And I don't mean like when it comes to paying the bill. I'm talking about what I charge for my mastermind. He's like, no, I'm not joining. That's too cheap. And I'm like, what? I've never had anybody say that. But thank you for that. It really gave me some perspective.
Well, it definitely gave us a connection, a unique connection. And I can get some great people in. I'm going to let him, before we're done, just kind of tell the audience a little bit about some of the things he does so that you know how to plug into Ken. And after today, the audience will know exactly how to plug into you and further their learnings past our 20 minutes together. So, hey, I always like to ask people who are entrepreneurs and have started their own businesses and been successful, how did you get into business for yourself? Where did that all start?
You mean the first business or the one I'm in now?
Well, maybe, but probably both.
Don, I don't think I'm any different than any other entrepreneur. I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I'm extremely unemployable. And so I've always sought out the better way. And like when I've had, jobs in the past, I'm like, this could be done so much easier, better, or more profitable. And I'm just going to leave and go do it or, do something besides work for you. And so, I've just always gone out and done my own thing. I can't relate to punching a time clock. I work 12 to 16-hour days still. And I can't imagine life that and what I found is if you go put in a 12-hour day working for somebody else, they don't care. They're like, hey, thanks, good job, see you tomorrow. I don't know, man. I just can't. So I've always for the most part as an adult, I've always worked for myself, and that probably comes from starting my hustle back at 7 and 8 years old and mowing yards. And I grew up in Northwest Ohio, so we had a lot of snow in the winters, and so I'd go door to door selling snow shoveling services, and
Oh, cool.
and just always hustled. So yeah, I've
So,
been at it a while.
so my 10-year-old grandson so there's hope for him then. He's decided he's open. I shouldn't have decided. He has one customer plus his dad, but he's got two
Yeah.
customers, and he picks up dog poop. And
Perfect.
and we, in our family, when we used to have dogs, my wife coined it, "Who wants to do poop patrol?" And
Yeah.
guess what? My grandson, his new business is called Poop Patrol.
So, I got that. Reminds me of a very funny story. I'm sitting in this back when I started in 2002. I started the company I have now, and I was sitting in a buddy of mine's office who's a multi-millionaire financial planner, funnier than hell, and he says, "How are things?" And I'm like, I'm sitting in his lush, beautiful, ginormous office, and I go, "Things aren't very good, Mike." His name's Mike. I said, "Things aren't very good. I'm broke." And he goes, "Why are you broke?" And I go, I don't know. I just can't. Wow. I was whining. Can't close anybody. Nobody wants to buy from me. Blah, blah. The whole feel sorry for me thing. And he goes, "Dude, I have a client that I do financial planning for that literally makes over $1 million a year picking up dog poop." That's what he said.
That's
And
funny.
he said, and he franchised it. And I'm like, what? He's making over $1 million a year. I don't want to hear your bull crap story about how you can't make any money. If you can make money picking up dog crap, you can make money doing anything. Like, that's crazy. I love that. Like, I've never forgotten that moment, because I was like, oh my God, there are so many other ways that I could be like, but anyway, so I love that.
That's all. So what do you think? What do you think? Again, this is a question I ask all successful entrepreneurs. What do you think it takes for somebody to be successful in business? Business ownership.
It takes a lot of things. The biggest thing I think it takes is, I love the people that say you gotta overcome your fear and blah, blah, blah. But no, you don't. You do not. Everybody's afraid. Like, realize Grant Cardone, who's a friend of mine, who's in the billionaire club now, he told me, he's like, "Dude, I wake up scared every day of my life." I'm like, "What?" He's like, scared to death every day. I go, wow. So it made me think, okay, wait a minute. So what is the factor? What's the it factor? The it factor is really simple. Quite honestly, it's do it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to make those calls. Do it anyway.
Yep.
I'm afraid to knock on doors. Do it anyway. I'm afraid to make the investment. Do it anyway. Like, all of these fears, and it all goes back to every single person that I've ever coached, entrepreneurs, it always goes back to the story that they're telling themselves about their abilities. And I'm just like, dude, the only way you're going to change that story is to take some different actions. You want to get not fat? Do different actions. Eat differently and work out. Do some push-ups. You probably only squeeze one out the first time, but keep going. Like, you've got to face your fears and take different actions.
Yeah, at the head, I think for entrepreneurs, the head space, the head trash, as we used to call it, is huge. In church, a couple of years ago, we did this, and I forget the guy's name. I apologize wherever he is. I apologize, but his book was called Soundtracks. And that's what it was. It was all about what soundtracks are playing in our minds that are keeping us from our dreams, keeping us from moving forward.
Dude,
that's awesome.
Truth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So anybody that you think should not, and then I'll move into the social media stuff, because that's what my audience is going to want to hear. But anybody, because I'll finish a sentence, honest. The people that watch my podcast are people looking to start a business through buying a franchise. They are the people who are converting their businesses into franchises. They are franchise consultants who help match people to franchises, and some of them are just the franchisors who are just looking for, or investors who are looking for the next exciting thing. And we interview a lot. I interview a lot of people that are what's called emerging brands. So is there anybody that you can think of, for those people that are thinking of starting their own business? Is there any characteristic of, or any type of people that you think shouldn't be in business for themselves, shouldn't just do it or just try it? Any thoughts on that side of the question?
Sure, I can respond to that. It's a I don't know if you call this a paradox or what, but a narcissist should not be an entrepreneur. However, a narcissist never realizes it's an incurable disease, so they don't ever realize they're narcissists. They have a tendency to burn bridges. So
Yeah.
look, somebody that shouldn't start a business would be a professional victim. And because there's no way you can make it. You're going to take lumps in business. You're going to get, it's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. You're going to get punched in the face. I mean, it's just owning a business. You're going to have surprises. You're going to have to deal with people, and you're going to have to not be a victim. You have to be able to overcome that stuff and push through it. So I do think, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I think the victim mindset need to work on their mindset before they ever get into a business. That's just my opinion.
No, I love the phrase professional victim. That sums it up. And I think there's a lot of that today. Just in our society, people not wanting to take that personal responsibility, and like you said, that's the kiss of death in being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. You don't step up to the plate because the buck stops with you. You own it all. You're the man or you're the woman. The buck stops with you.
I have in my possession. So I'm friends with Mark Victor Hansen, who's the co-founder of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Yeah. And I'm actually in a referral business partnership with Mark for his publishing company. But and in his biography, Relentless, I have a whole chapter in this book, in Mark's freaking life story. It's unbelievable. But his cohort, Jack Canfield, wrote a book years ago with a lady named Janet Switzer, and the name of that book is The Success Principles. I believe that every entrepreneur on the planet, a wannabe, a just getting started, or been at it forever, should read The Success Principles. The very first principle of that book, and I believe they put it there by design as the first one for a reason, is take 100% responsibility for everything in your life, which is so difficult to do. It really is, especially if you at a stoplight and somebody taps you from behind. You're like, how's that my fault? I don't know. And he says that maybe you should have left earlier.
See, then you should have been on time,
Right.
Or military on time, which is 10 minutes early.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny.
Funny. I think that with Jack in that book, I mean, The Success Principles, the very first one is take 100% responsibility for everything in your life. And if you do that, it's impossible to be a victim.
Yeah. These are huge, not just nuggets. These are real gems. If the interview ended here, what a number of takeaways, man. Yeah, that's a wrap. But so let's move into your expertise, where you play now, where your expertise is. Because I really want the audience to get better at social media, get better, take that leap. to not only do a podcast or do posts, but as you, I know you always push to go live. So I really want to get into some of the real key points, because I
Yep.
coach franchise consultants. I
Yep.
do a lot of work with emerging brands. And these are all people that often are just starting out themselves. And one of the things I teach is that different lead generation strategies will produce at different times, and social media will produce for you. But so many people are just throwing stuff out there, and then they're going to turn around and go, "Oh, that doesn't work, so I'm going to stop." And
Right.
so I wanted to get you on to really help the listeners with
Yeah.
the right way to do this, or some of the right things to do early on if they start to use social media. So help us out with some
Okay.
of the top principles, some of the top keys that people can get started on in the right way.
How much time do we have?
We
Yeah, I'm
have
being serious. I don't want to go over
got
your
another 10 minutes plus or minus.
Okay. So, and again, people think I worship Grant Cardone, and I don't. I will say that he is a friend of mine, and he changed my life in 2014, and I'll be forever grateful for that. I was in his office. It's a long story I won't get into, but I won a trip on his jet. And in lieu of going on his jet, I flew on my own dime to his office. He sat with me in his office for 3 hours and coached me, and it changed my life. And here's what he said. I won't say exactly what he said, because there might have been an F-bomb in there, but he said, "What the blank are you hiding from?" And I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, what? I was already, I was terrified, man. I'm sitting there with a guy worth over $100 million, and he's got a booming, big personality. And I'm like, I'm in your office. I'm not hiding from anything. What do you mean? And he goes, "Well, you're hiding from something. If I wasn't your friend on Facebook, I wouldn't even see your post." And I'm like, well, I put my kids on there. He's like, "And?" I go, "Well, I'm, I don't know. I just don't want them to do anything to my kids." And he goes, "Who's them?" I go, "I don't know." He goes, "Sounds like you're living in fear." He goes, "I put my kids on Facebook." I go, "Right." He goes, they need to earn Papa some money. Otherwise, they're just little freeloaders." I'm like, "Oh my God." Well, okay. But so he's like, "Look, man, you gotta go all in on yourself, and you gotta go all in on this social media thing. And you've got to go everywhere, and you got to do it nonstop. And you got, like, so many people that I coach on social media stuff, Don, they're like, "Man, I tried it for 30 days and I didn't get anything, nothing, not a single like, a click, nothing." And I'm like, 30 days? What are you talking about? That's not even like, are you kidding me? Like, I haven't even scratched the surface in 8 years of doing this stuff, man. And I've done over 4,000 live streams. I've on my podcast, I've interviewed over 500 celebrities and entrepreneurs. I've not even scratched the surface yet. And I hope that someday, if I just keep pushing, keep going, I'm going to get a break. So it's about getting out of hiding. Like, here's the deal. I do preach going live, and I teach going live, and I teach podcasting and all of that stuff. And that, but the biggest thing about going live is this: when I'm on stage, or I'm trying to convince somebody they need to start utilizing live streaming, I say, here's the deal. What city do you live in? We'll use you as an example. What city?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
I'm assuming Harrisburg, being the capital of the state, has an ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliates, right? So if I worked for all of those affiliates and I came to you and I said, "Don, I represent ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. We all got together, decided we love your content and who you are so much that we want you to run ads on all the networks anytime you want, 24 hours a day. Here's the caveats. There's two of them. One, it has to be live. You have to go live to run your commercials on all of the networks anytime you want. Number two, you can't pay us a dime. It's 100% free. Would you say no to that?
Nope.
Yeah, because you'd win the dumbest business owner of the year award.
That would be worse than Dumb or Dumber. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So here's the thing. Facebook, just Facebook by itself, is literally more than 1,000 times bigger than all of those networks in your local market combined, and people are ignoring it. Did you know that the algorithms with Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, now known as X, they all favor live stream videos? So
I did not know that.
You can post a video and get a certain amount of watches in 24 hours, or you can go live and you'll get probably 10 times or more the amount of looks at your live stream than the video you posted. It's true.
Awesome.
And the biggest thing, and with podcasting, I teach this, and you're going to hate me for saying this, but I teach you should be live streaming your podcasts. And here's why. I don't listen to podcasts. I have over 500 in the can, and I've never listened to one of my own podcasts ever. Okay. You know why? I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather paint this wall over here and watch it dry than listen to a podcast. I don't know. It's something about, and then I started looking into that. Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, what? Like, and here it is, man. No, there are people who listen with visual audio, and there are people who learn with audio. I don't learn with audio. It's like air to me. I can't take it. It drives me crazy. But I'll watch a video and I'll listen to a video. I'll watch it and listen to that. And I'm about 50% of the world. So if you're not live streaming your podcast, you're missing out on 50% of your potential audience. 50%. So huge numbers.
Wow. So what's one of the first, somebody wants to do this. Somebody wants to set it up simply. I know before I even did anything, I was just like overwhelmed with, what equipment do I use? What services do I use? So what's the easiest way for somebody to say, hey, next week, if I do this and this, next week I'm up and running live. What do they have to do?
I mean, there's a lot to it. StreamYard is huge. Getting a professional camera and microphone. I have an academy for this, so a little investment in the academy to learn. There's 100 and some odd videos where I teach and show the equipment. I literally teach the whole thing in the Grow Live Academy. But and it includes a weekly mastermind call that Don says I'm too cheap. And if you, listen, let me put this out there. If you want to pay me more than the $9.97 a year, I'm in. I'll give you my Venmo.
You could raise your price at least 10%. Nobody would know the difference. But anyway.
I could easily. Yeah, you're right. But so, no, I mean, look, I like everybody should. Number one, I think everybody should write a book. Number two, I think everybody should have a podcast. Everybody, the people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to have a podcast. You've got to have a book. You can interview people like me with 150,000 people in my audience. You can interview people like Don with 1.10 million in his audience. I don't know what you have in your audience, but you can interview big people that want more attention.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They just want more attention. They want more people to know who they are and have the opportunity maybe to do business at some point.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, it's striking me as well. So I appreciate that. And audience, again, if you want to get a hold of Ken, he's got some highly valuable, I won't say cheap, because they're not cheap. They're highly valuable resources and courses. You could tap into his expertise on a regular basis. It's scrolling. There's two different ways to get in touch with Ken. So here's my final question. I ask everybody this question.
Okay.
In closing, is there anything we haven't talked about, anything I haven't asked you that, again, knowing our audience, knowing you really care about people, you really want to make a difference, you want to pour back into people. Is there anything that you want to leave with folks, or anything that you might say, hey, I wished would have added this? Anything you want to, in closing, that you want to bring to the audience?
Sure. There is nothing more important, no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an employee at a company or whatever it is. There is nothing more important than the conversations you're having with yourself. And I would encourage everybody on the listening or watching. I don't know if you put this out as a video or not, but
it is video. Yep.
Yeah. You've got to learn how to take control of the conversations you're having with yourself about yourself. And that's been a tough journey, man. I mean, it's especially when you're raised in different ways than that, and when you have to change. If you don't, then your life's always going to have these little ups and downs where you're like, I can't figure it out. And I went through that for so long. I just turned 55 years old, and I'm like, man, if I would have known this stuff, I mean, we all do that, right? If I would have known this 20 years ago, or would have been way, or if I maybe would have paid more attention to what people were telling me, so learn how to change your mindset by changing the conversations you're having with yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just at a leadership conference, and one of the speakers said, why do we bully ourselves? She says, I used to say things to myself I would never say to anybody else. And man, you are spot on. You are spot on.
So true.
All right, Ken Walls, man, you're one of the special people in my life. I appreciate you so much. And as we wrap up, just thanks for pouring into my audience.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
You bet.